September 24, 2025, Super Typhoon Ragasa, one of the most powerful storms in modern history, slammed into Taiwan with winds topping 120 miles per hour waves over 25 feet and rainfall measured in feet, not inches. In just hours, cities went dark. Airports shut down flights were grounded, highways turned into rivers. Power grids collapsed as thousands evacuated, clutching only what they could carry. Soldiers raced to erect shelters while families huddled, bracing for the unknown. This was no ordinary typhoon. Ragasa was a freight train of wind and water ripping through Taiwan and threatening millions more across Asia. For Americans watching from afar, the message is chilling. Storms like Ragasa are no longer rare. They are the shape of our future. The question is not if they will come, but whether we are ready when they do. At 2:00 p.m. on September 24th, Super Typhoon Ragasa made landfall in Hualien County, hammering Taiwan's southeastern coast with devastating force. Sustained winds of 120 miles per hour tore through towns while violent gusts battered the shoreline as if the island were under siege. Within minutes, neighborhoods vanished beneath floodwaters. Highways disappeared, cars were abandoned mid-road, and frantic drivers waded to safety. More than 500 residents were evacuated into temporary shelters as schools and government offices across 9 counties shuttered. Airports ground to a halt. By late afternoon, over 400 flights were canceled, stranding passengers as departure boards turned red with warnings. Rail lines stopped. Ferry services ceased. Taiwan's transportation network was paralyzed. The chaos spread inland. Power lines collapsed across Taitung and Hualien, plunging thousands of homes into darkness. Emergency crews battled sheets of rain as hospitals shifted to emergency status, bracing for casualties. In mountain regions, officials warned of deadly landslides, with Ragasa dumping over 20 inches of rain in 48 hours. By nightfall, Taiwan's leaders made it clear this was no ordinary typhoon. Ragasa had escalated into a national emergency, a storm etched into history. By nightfall, the human cost of Super Typhoon Ragasa was undeniable. Authorities confirmed 1 death, 33 injuries, and 1 person missing. Most of the victims had been struck by flying debris or trapped inside vehicles swept away by raging floods. In Hualien County, the disaster struck when a 120-meter-high natural barrier lake suddenly burst under record-breaking rains unleashed by Super Typhoon Ragasa. Officials confirmed at least 14 deaths, 18 injuries, and 124 people still missing, but rescue commanders warned the actual death toll could be far higher. The collapsed lake, formed years earlier by landslides, had been holding about 100 million U.S. tons of water. Fueled by more than 28 inches of mountain rainfall in just 2 days, pressure inside the lake surged until the earthen dam erupted with a roar heard for miles. In only minutes, around 66 million U.S., Tons of mud-laden floodwater thundered downstream, shredding forests, ripping apart highways, and crushing the Matai'an Creek Bridge near Guangfu Township. Entire residential areas vanished beneath the raging current. Vehicles, livestock, and debris were swept away like toys across the inundated plains. For residents, Ragasa was more than a storm. It was a fight for survival. One resort worker in Taitung recalled the terror. The wind sounded like a freight train. We told guests not to go outside. If you stepped into it, you might not come back. Across Taiwan, shelters overflowed with families clutching blankets, food rations, and flashlights. Ragasa was not only tearing apart homes and cities, it was testing the resilience of an entire nation.
都没有办法回家。如果的话，我就跟重新再看。
While winds tore roofs from homes and sent trees crashing to the ground, it was water that became Ragasa's deadliest weapon. Along Taiwan's eastern seaboard, walls of water up to 25 feet high smashed into fishing ports, swallowing seawalls and hurling boats into city streets. In some towns, the ocean surged nearly a mile inland, leaving debris-twisted cars and fishing nets scattered across intersections. In the mountains of Kaohsiung and Pingtung, over 20 inches of rain fell in just 48 hours. Valleys transformed into raging torrents, and by nightfall, emergency officials confirmed multiple landslides. Remote villages were suddenly cut off their roads, buried under tons of earth and rock. Rescue crews warned that reaching survivors could take days. The Central Weather Bureau issued a grim update. Ragasa could still unload 2 more feet of rainfall before finally weakening. Rivers already at flood stage threatened to burst their banks, placing thousands more homes at risk. On the battered east coast, storm surges combined with relentless rain to create flooding unseen since Typhoon Nefertak in 2016. Authorities pleaded with evacuees, do not return home. The danger is not over. Ragasa wasn't just breaking records, it was rewriting them wave by wave, raindrop by raindrop. As Super Typhoon Ragasa ripped across Taiwan, the government launched one of its largest disaster responses in decades. More than 30,000 soldiers and emergency workers were deployed, racing to clear debris, set up shelters, and deliver vital supplies. Rescue boats combed flooded neighborhoods, pulling families from rooftops, while military helicopters hovered over mountainsides to airlift the stranded. By mid-afternoon, over 5,500 residents had been evacuated from vulnerable coastal and mountain zones. Schools and government offices in at least 9 counties shut their doors, while emergency text alerts urged millions to remain indoors. Transportation collapsed. Airports in Kaohsiung and Tainan canceled hundreds of flights, stranding thousands of passengers, and rail services ground to a halt as landslides buried tracks beneath tons of mud. The crisis drew immediate international attention. The U.S. National Hurricane Center tracked Ragasa's monstrous path, while global news networks broadcast live images of waves engulfing seawalls and homes reduced to rubble. Aid groups from Japan and the United States pledged to mobilize as soon as conditions allowed. Yet even with the massive mobilization, officials warned that Ragasa's destruction could overwhelm Taiwan's resources. And with the storm barreling toward China's Fujian province, the world wasn't just watching, it was bracing for what might come next. Ragasa was not just a storm. It was a brutal reminder of how fragile modern societies remain against nature's wrath. In a matter of hours, it shredded infrastructure, drowned defenses, and pushed emergency systems to the edge of collapse. Taiwan, a nation hardened by decades of typhoons, once again found itself asking the most painful question: are we truly ready for the next one? For years, scientists have warned that a warming planet would turn typhoons into monsters, wetter, stronger, faster. Ragasa turned that warning into reality. With winds rivaling hurricanes and rainfall smashing records, it showed how unpredictable and unstoppable future storms could become. But behind the forecasts were human lives. Families watched homes ripped apart. Farmers saw their fields vanish under floods, and entire communities faced losses that will take generations to rebuild. To them, Ragasa was not a headline, it was heartbreak. Officials admit recovery will take weeks, maybe months. Yet, the greater challenge is clear resilience. Stronger defenses, smarter planning, faster warnings. Because if Ragasa taught us anything, it's this: the next superstorm is not decades away. It could come tomorrow. Ragasa's story is far from over. Its scars will linger for months, maybe years, but its warning is immediate. Preparation saves lives. Awareness creates resilience, and the stories we share today can protect families tomorrow. If this report opened your eyes, don't just move on. Like this video, it helps us bring urgent updates to more people. Subscribe so you never miss breaking coverage of the extreme weather reshaping our world. And above all, share this video with your friends and family. The more people stay alert, the fewer lives storms like Ragasa can claim. Together, we can turn awareness into action, and action into survival. The next storm is already forming. The only question is, will we be ready?